I went through this phase of being really angry with the doctors because I informed them about a genetic anomaly that I carry, that she had a 50% chance of carrying herself. And if she did inherit it, then it would directly influence how they would address her blood sugar levels. And I felt like they just did not listen to me at all. And for a while after she died, I was eaten alive by the idea that she starved to death, and that's why she died. The idea that she could have just been laying there for 5 days, just starving and then slowly dying, absolutely destroyed me. And I had a very hard time moving past the anger I felt about the doctors not listening to me, and how if they had just listened to what I was saying, then she would be alive now. I mean, she very well could be alive now. We don't know. The doctors did the best that they could do. I was going through the anger phase of grieving. I kept asking Spirit, why did she have to die? What was the point of this? The answer that I received was a reference to the great work, which is also called the magnum opus. This is a process of alchemy and transmutation within Hermeticism. It's the process of self-realization and spiritual awakening. Spirit was trying to tell me that I was starting the caterpillar turning into a butterfly process, which is a very widely used analogy in the spiritual realm for self-actualization. The first step in this process is burning. Calcination is the first step in the alchemical process, and it involves burning a substance to remove impurities and to reduce it to its original form. Said in another way, it's the process of burning away everything that is not you. After learning a bit about Hermeticism and also exhausting all the medical information that I could to try to figure out exactly why I got sick and why my daughter died, coming to the conclusion that there was no concrete answer at that time, I fell into a very dark place. I became extremely depressed. That was when me not wanting to leave my bed started. I could barely take a shower. I couldn't feed myself. It wasn't a feeling of wanting to die like initially. It was this feeling of nothing. I retreated from life completely. I was just sitting in bed every day and I would just look out the window. I was alone every day for months, dealing with this depression by myself. I had one particular family member really getting on me for not having a job. I remember I sat in front of her one day and I just cried. And I said, I blame myself for my daughter's death. And she just stared at me. There was no love there. There was this expectation that I was supposed to just get over it, I think. People wanted me to come see them. I felt obligated, so I made plans, and then I ended up having to cancel them a lot because I couldn't leave my house. I couldn't get dressed, I couldn't do anything, and it was a lot of nasty, we never see you anymore, and you're just gonna cancel plans, and always canceling, and they didn't want to believe that I was depressed. I was expected just to carry all of this pain silently and perfectly, and there was no room in their minds for me to be as depressed as I was. I wasn't allowed to act like that. I managed to get my graduate degree in financial planning. They gave me an extension because I told them that my daughter died. Somehow I finished that degree. But by that point, it didn't matter because I was deeply embedded into the spiritual realm and rapidly moving away from the material. And it doesn't get more material than financial planning. And prior to that, I was a background investigator. And then prior to that, I was active duty military for 6 years. And I didn't care about any of that either. So I was kind of sitting I was at the back at the drawing board. There was a blank canvas in front of me. And I was like, I don't care about anything that I have ever done in the past. So all of the experience that I could bring into a new job, I don't want to do anymore because I don't fucking care about any of this. None of this matters. After what I had just been through, none of this matters at all. Like my whole view on life and what life is meant to be about was like drastically changing, and people just didn't get it. I was talking to my aunt on the phone, and I was telling her that I do not care about anything anymore. I have no idea anymore what brings me joy. I don't know what to do with myself. She said, maybe if you don't know what to do with yourself, maybe it's because you're not meant to do anything right now. And she was 100% right. I didn't want to admit that at the time because I was getting so much pressure from other family to be a productive member of society and to suck it up that I felt a lot of guilt and shame about not making money, even though I had enough savings to not work at the time. And honestly, not working was kind of normal for COVID. Everyone was losing their jobs and stuff. And so other people didn't think it was weird, but I was not used to being unemployed. So there was a lot of guilt and pressure to perform and to go back to normal and to just be normal. And I just couldn't. There was one day where I was sitting in my bed. It was, midday, and I was looking at the window and I'm looking at the clouds, and I thought to myself, I've never seen these clouds before. I've never seen clouds before. And I was like, this is the first time I've ever looked at a cloud. At this time, 5 years ago, I was 34. So clearly I had seen a cloud, but I wasn't me anymore. I had this distinct understanding that the soul that previously occupied my body was no longer in my body anymore, and that I was a stand-in soul waiting for her to return. But I knew that there was a chance she would never return because she was scared shitless, basically. She was scared out of her body, and I was like the placeholder. And there's a chance that she would have decided not to come back, and I then would live the rest of her life. And I wondered, if she was ever going to come back. And I looked at the clouds, and I looked around my bedroom, and I was like, my goodness, she made such a mess of her life. I certainly would not have made these choices. It was in that more advanced voice too. So for a while, I kind of just moseyed around all right, what do I do in this life that I didn't create? I thought to myself, my God, I've got a lot of work to do. How the fuck am I gonna fix all this shit? So funny. So in psychology, this feeling of a soul separating from the body would be considered dissociation, but it doesn't quite line up with the psychological description of dissociation. This was a literal feeling like I was not the same person, and a conscious understanding that I was temporarily occupying my body while I was waiting for the other soul to return. Because Western medicine isn't allowed to even acknowledge the concept of a soul, those kinds of spiritual concepts are avoided in the medical community. There is a aspect of life that we really, really don't understand. So I think that if I had gone to a therapist at that time, I would have been told that I had dissociated. But I believe it was more complicated than that, and it involved timelines, it involved other versions of self that were kind of getting shuffled around. I still really haven't wrapped my head around what went on there. Once I decided that I needed to start cleaning up the life that I had found myself in, I regained a bit of strength